Let's look at variables and how we create them in a bit more detail. Remember in the previous lecture, I said that using variables to store data is done in 3 distinct steps. Well, let's discuss those steps quickly. The first step is you have to declare your variable. And all that means is that the variable is registered in its corresponding scope. And the scope of a variable is simply where the variable can be used. Don't stress about scope yet. We're going to be talking about scope in more detail later. The next step is initialization. You've got to initialize that variable. And this usually occurs at the same time the variable is declared. And all this means is that the variable is assigned a memory. It's assigned space by the JavaScript engine. And when you initialize this variable, it takes a value of undefined. Remember that undefined? It's a primitive data type. It takes that value until you assign a value to it. And here is a practical example of an undefined variable. Let's say we just make up a variable called animal, but we don't assign it a value, meaning we don't have an equal sign with a value. We're just going to declare a variable. This is what we've just done. And now if we go type of animal, it is undefined. So we've declared a variable. In the background, the parser has initiated that variable. It's assigned memory space to that variable. But at this point in time, it is undefined. Which brings us to the third step, and that is assigning a value to that variable. And all that means is that you literally put a value into that container. You tell JavaScript that that variable is to have that value. We've declared and initialized our variable called animal in this case. How do we assign it a value? It's easy. Let's say our animal, we just retype it out because remember, it's been initialized, so there is memory space. The parser knows that this is a variable. But let's assign it a value of warthog. And now, if we go type of animal, we would expect to see a string, which is what we've got. Hope it's making sense. Let's move on.